I've got the answer right here, ladies and gentlemen, to everything that ails you. Now step right up.
One who acts like a doctor about his salves and remedies. The cruel practice of making money on people's worries feared throughout the years as quackery.
I said cure of backache, nervousness,
any number of diseases.
Howdy there, quackheads. Welcome on back here to another episode of Quackery. With you, leading you through this thing as always, is Dr. Will the Pill here, and my main man, John, or I think he might start going by Johnny Medicine.
John Boy and Pilly.
Oh!
That just...
Holy shit, John Boy and Pilly. TM, I'm pretty sure no one has anything like that. So we just made it up.
That just came like...
That was good.
As I was saying it, it just came...
I love that. Oh my God. Okay, so today we are talking about plague medicine. So we are drinking...
I'm not a big fan.
So strangely,
I'm sorry, man.
I am. You don't have to drink it if you don't want to. So this is a Ballast Point Brewing Company Coconut Victory at Sea. It's an Imperial Porter. So they have their normal porter, which is coffee and other flavors. This is the coconut. And the reason why I chose this one over their normal one is on the label, there's a nice skeleton captain of a ship. And so it kind of brings on plague with the skeleton. And then I'll explain why the ship is important as we go forward with this episode. But Ballast Point, I like it, actually. It's from San Diego, California. And it takes our popular Imperial Porter to another place. We added sweet roasted coconut to our robust porter, brewed with Cafe Calabria coffee and vanilla, the perfect complement to this beer's subtle roasty intensity.
It is good. It's just bitter, and I don't like the coconut.
Yeah, you don't like the coconut. So what's weird, when I saw the coconut, I was like, I may hate this, but I actually kind of like it. It's weird. It's very different.
It honestly, to me, it tastes like coconut oil. Mm-hmm. You know, like the stuff that, not the oil.
That's an acquired taste, yeah.
But, you know, you scoop out like the oil that's solidified.
Yeah, like coconut oil, yeah.
Yeah, and it tastes like that to me.
I mean, it does, and beer. I mean...
Can I see the bottle?
Yeah. It's very strange, but I actually kind of like it. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about plague medicine. And I start by asking you, have you seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
Oh, bring out your dead.
So that's the picture we started with here. So, kind of the new thing we're doing here. John, tell me what you know about the plague.
Black Death.
It's the Black Death, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did a great course on that.
Cool.
Do you like great courses?
I've heard of them, yeah.
I'm a huge great courses addict, dude. And they have
you're going to be schooling me on this one.
No, because this is a while ago, but they have a really popular lecture series on there about the Black Death.
Cool.
And so the front of the cover is the Birdman, I guess, with the bird plague doctor. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
very famous.
But
image.
Honestly, that's all I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I put a picture up on here. It's a painting from the time, and kind of a consequence of this whole thing is that the art kind of got to be to a macabre sort of place, very dark, skeletons.
It was dark times. I mean,
and they were thinking about it like it was it was the devil doing it. It was a lot of religious,
because they had to explain it somehow.
They had to explain it, right? So, what is the plague? So, the Black Death, right? Also known as the pestilence, the Great Plague, or just the plague.
Oh, the pestilence.
Also known as the Black Plague, was one of the most devastating pandemics in human history, resulting in deaths of an estimated up to 200 million people in Eurasia, which would be Europe and Asia combined. Yeah. Peaking in Europe from 1347 to 1351. That's kind of what we always talk about in Europe, the big plague from that period of time. So the bacterium Yersinia Pestis, which results in the several different forms of the plague, which we'll talk about, that was the cause. And Black Death was the first epidemic or the outbreak of the plague, but there were more after that too. So, what causes it? So, Yersinia pestis, as we said, which is named for French biologist Alexandre Yersin, So Yersin, he discovers it at the end of the 19th century. So, like that's late 1800s. So it's a gram-negative coccobacillus, which is just a kind of bacteria. Hold on, that's not the bacteria.
Oh, okay.
So that picture is of a flea. Yeah. So it exists in nature in rodent fleas. So rat fleas carry it kind of in their saliva and their gut and things like that. So sometimes you'll see the number of rats increase, and then so their fleas will increase, and then so the rodents will actually die from the plague. Well, what happens then when you have an overabundance of fleas? If you don't have, if it's olden times, the fleas will have to find something else to drink, to feed on, and that a lot of times became humans. So that's how it goes from. So I guess a zoonotic would be what it is, and it would go from these fleas to people.
What would kill it now? Are you going to get into that? I mean, we wouldn't suffer a Black Death now.
We'll get into that.
Okay,
there are concerns. There are some concerns. But anyway, how did it get to Europe? So it didn't start, in Europe. It was a devastating global epidemic of bubonic plague that struck Europe and Asia in the mid-1300s. It arrived by 12 Black Sea ships at the Sicilian port of Messina. So that's why I picked this skeleton driving a boat, the captain of the boat, because these plague ships, basically showed up in the harbor. But they started to, when some of them came in and the sailors were dead, they stopped the rest, but it was too late because the rats will get on, out, and then from there the rats will die, the fleas will get onto people, and so on. They ordered the ships out to the harbor, but over the next 5 years, the Black Death would kill more than 20 million people in Europe, which was a third of the continent's population. That was just in that one time.
Did that say where it started from, or just it said it arrived?
Yeah, so we'll get to that. So it was from Asia.
Okay, gotcha.
So it came from Asia at that time, and we'll kind of get into that. But I wanted to kind of go back because remember we said there were several types of plague. Yeah. So you've heard of bubonic plague, right? Yeah. That's kind of what you hear it kind of interchangeably. Well, that's all Yersinia pestis, but it can cause 3 types of plague: bubonic, septicemic, and pneumonic. Obviously, you probably know that like septicemic are like sepsis, bacterial sepsis, and pneumonic is like pneumonia, right? Okay. Yeah. Those would be correct. So bubonic plague is the most common form. So you get it when either a rat or a flea who has bubonic plague will bite you. Or sometimes you can get it just from contacting an infected person. This one is about 50% fatal at the time. 50% fatal. Yeah. So it will infect your lymphatic system. So that's part of your immune system. So all your lymph nodes, you have them neck and groin and all different places, armpits. So if it's left untreated, it can move to septicemic, or if it moves to your lung, if it goes to the blood, it'll be septicemic, or if it goes to your lungs, it's pneumonic.
What is the coronavirus? What's the fatality rate on that? The percentage? Do you know?
It's so hard to tell right now. Okay. And they said actually we won't know until later on, because right now, like some people might have the coronavirus and they didn't think it was the coronavirus because it wasn't that serious, so they didn't even go report it. So the numbers are going to seem high now because all the people who are really sick are the only people that know have it. Okay. And it's like something like 2-4% or higher.
Geez, that's not even that bad. 50%
for now. Yeah. For now, I mean that's still kind of scary. But so this is not a picture of a penis.
Almost.
It kind of looks like 2 little dongs hanging off this guy's leg. Yeah. But so those are buboes. Buboes are the symptom of the bubonic plague. That's where it gets its name. The painful swellings of the thighs, neck, groin, or armpits. So those are like when a flea bites you and it goes in your bloodstream to the lymph nodes and makes those swell. So these buboes, man, they can get really big and turn black too. Ugh. But that's a more recent one there. And then septicemic plague,
100% fatal.
When it gets to your bloodstream at this period of time, you would die. Yeah. And so that's when it would get to your bloodstream, and it'd be between 2 to 7 days after exposure. So it's really fast. And symptoms would be like abdominal pain, diarrhea, nausea and vomiting, fever, chills, weakness, bleeding, and your blood may not be able to clot. So you just keep bleeding until you bleed out, shock, or gangrene, which your skin will turn black. Yeah. And then pneumonic is where it gets to your lungs. So it's going to be all the respiratory symptoms. And that's 90% fatal. But a lot of times back then it would be potentially, if you got pneumonic plague, you're almost always going to die just because there was not a lot they could do for them. We'll get into that next. but it's the only kind that can be transmitted from person to person. So it's actually contagious. Like if someone coughs, and another person could get it. So you get, breathing trouble, chest pain, cough, fever, headache, weakness, and bloody sputum.
Yeah, what is that?
Like saliva mucus. Like if you cough up, mucus or spit, like bloody coughing out blood. What did they try at the time? What's this podcast about? All sorts.
Well, they were in desperate measures.
1300s too. Oh God, desperate measures.
They would do anything.
So this guy named Jean Froissart, he wrote the Chronicles, and his quote said, "At the time, doctors needed 3 qualifications: to be able to lie and not get caught, to pretend to be honest, and to cause death without guilt."
That seems about right for today.
Nothing's changed. So different things they tried. We'll go into each of these individually. You had the plague doctors, infamously wore the
Birdman mask.
Yeah, bloodletting, isolation, religious things, rubs, pomanders, talismans, potions, urine tasting, sweat, and cutting buboes.
What is a pomander?
We're going to get on all of this.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Plague doctor. So there's a picture there. We'll put this up for sure. This is a picture of a plague doctor. So out of desperation, cities hired these people, and they were not doctors. They were just either they were like young doctors with no experience, or they would just be anyone off the street who wanted to do it. So, I mean, they needed so many, they didn't care.
So, like, the thing is, they had to get close to the patient,
right.
And no one else wanted to.
Well, that plus everyone was dying, so there weren't enough people to do it.
I'm gonna dress up like that for next Halloween.
I love it, dude. I love it. It's awesome. So in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, so there was actually plague again, and so that's actually when these came about. So it wasn't the original 1300s plague; it was the later centuries where they made these masks.
Really?
Yeah, which I mean, still a long time ago, 1700s. I mean,
yeah,
but that's when that started. So what they were designed to do, so it's got this big beak on it. If you guys haven't seen it, we'll put it up on quackerypodcast.com. I mean, it's basically like old school hazmat suit, but, and then the face was it had this long beak on it. And the reason why it had that was they would put all these different spices and things in the end of it.
Yeah.
And they had an idea at the time. It was the miasma theory of disease, like bad smells basically would make you sick.
Oh, okay.
So they thought if they put good smells and blocked off most of the air from coming in.
But that's not true.
No.
Yeah.
No, it's not true.
I mean, they'd been better if they would have just put a piece of cloth over their mouth.
I think so, yeah. I mean, it'd be kind of like a surgical mask now, right? Yeah. They would have, yeah. But, I mean, it was so contagious, like really the only thing that was effective, as we'll find out, was getting away. Anyway, the original design for all this stuff could be contributed to the chief physician to Louis the 13th, who was Charles de Lorme. He was the first one to kind of, coin this look, the plague doctor look.
I think Louis the 13th, he's the one that cut off like all his wives' heads, right?
That was Henry VIII.
Never mind.
I think. I don't know all these. I mean, there's so many.
Yeah. Can't
keep up with them. But yeah, I don't even, I'm bad with all that stuff. I'm terrible with it. So anyway, here's fun. So then there was a guy named, they called him Dr. Beak.
Dr. Beak.
This was 1656. He was Dr. Schnabel, and they called him Dr. Beak. He was a 17th century in Rome, who wore, the beak. And this pretty sweet picture of him here.
Is he on a golf course?
It sort of looks like it. He's got his club there. 4. I'll tell you what, I don't know what it is lately, but you can get tea time just like that.
It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
It looks like one.
Yeah, it does look like
it's like, who are you treating out there in the country? There's another one beak guy, and he's chasing some guys off with a stick.
Yeah.
I like how you're toughing out the beer.
It's not my favorite, man.
Maybe it'll grow on you. All right, I'm going to preface this. We're going to talk about bloodletting, but I don't want to get too far into it because this is a topic I want to do in full detail.
Oh, is this some... Yeah.
So you know what bloodletting is, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You basically cut my heart in... No, what is the... Still bleeding.
Cut my life into pieces.
What's the...
No,
that's something else. But anyway, what's the one where it's like, still bleeding? And maybe that's that same song. Shit, I can't remember anything anymore. Where's Jen when you need her? Bloodletting, I'm going to preface this by saying we're not going to get too much into it because I want to do a whole episode on it because it's interesting quackery. But yeah, they would cut themselves to bleed, basically get rid of excess blood. So they thought, oh, blood's hot, so maybe it'll make your fever go down. And it's, there's some logic to it, but it's ends up being ridiculous because that doesn't work. But anyway, there was Hippocrates was a Greek physician, so he was in BC, 460 to 370 BC. He came up with the 4 humors, and he was kind of the father of modern medicine, but it's not that he knew everything, but it was basically like yellow bile, black bile, blood, and phlegm, which is like mucus.
You said he's the father of medicine. That's not where they got HIPAA, is it?
No.
Okay.
That's an abbreviation.
Sorry. Okay, never mind.
Health Insurance Portability and whatever Act and...
Okay, never mind.
Portability and Accountability Act. That's it. Anyway, we'll go into this more, the 4 humors and bloodletting, but they would do this. They thought, okay, you bleed yourself a little bit and you'd be ship-shape. Because they did have fever and they thought that would help with that.
Do you think it works, though?
Or buboes, that maybe they thought, oh, that's blood swelling there, so we can go down.
Because, all right, let's say you got the AIDS virus and you bloodlet, your body's going to remake blood, but it's not going to remake the virus that's in there.
Yeah, but it'll spread faster than...
yeah.
Because, I mean, you're replenishing blood every few days anyway.
Oh, really?
So it just keeps spreading through your system. But, I mean, it's a good question, though. I mean, you think about, like, if it wasn't, then, could you eventually just, like, keep bleeding and then filling up and bleeding? I had a roommate, I'm not going to say which one, in school. The blood donation van came around, and I'm like, hey, let's go donate blood. Why not? We're young, healthy. And he's like, yeah, but, I mean, what if I donate? What if I want to donate again? And I was like, yeah, just, I mean, I wouldn't do it in the same day. Yeah. Maybe wait a week, couple weeks, and he's like, no, but I mean, will I have enough? I was like, dude, I sure hope you're not going into the medical profession.
Will I have enough?
Like, so you think, like, every time you get cut, if you better get some, transfusion.
Yeah.
There's just like a collective amount of blood the world has, and you have to share.
You got like 6 pints in it or something like that.
There's a lot, but you obviously make more.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I love that.
That's crazy.
Okay. So then Galen was another, figure in medicine along with Hippocrates. And so basically they said cito longe tarde was the only way to prevent the plague, which just means leave quickly, go far away, and come back slowly. It was basically isolation. Avoid it if you could. But a lot of times it was too little too late with this. They tried turning away the ships. People try to get away. But that was probably the best advice. It was just so hard to do. It's like you didn't have cars, you had carts, and most people were walking, and there were not good living conditions. People couldn't just pick up and move. Okay, so then of course, like we talked about before, what are people they're gonna blame God or the devil, right? Or themselves because of what they did. That God's punishing them. Yeah, and I mean that still happens a lot today. So people, either people would try to listen to Hippocrates and try to flee. Or if they were Christian or Islamic or, a lot of religion, they would say, well, fleeing, that was cowardly. You couldn't abandon your church. You couldn't abandon your family. Couldn't abandon where you lived. So especially Christians or Catholics, they started flagellation. You ever watch the movie
Flagellation?
Angels and Demons?
Yeah, with Dan Brown?
Yeah,
or
read
Tom
the
Hanks,
book,
yeah,
really.
yeah.
But the movie, you can see him do it. It's got the guy, and he's like, he whips himself. That's what this is. It's like, but he did it in private. But these people
punishing
would.
Himself.
It's ritual.
Yes,
it's ritual punishment.
The guy with the white guy, the really white guy, the pale guy, and he would basically whip himself.
Yeah. Oh no, that was the Da Vinci Code.
Oh yeah, I think it
Da
was.
Vinci
Yeah,
Code.
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, that was Da Vinci Code. But
there's really great but completely inaccurate books.
I love Dan Brown's books.
He's a great writer. Man.
Oh yeah. He keeps you on the edge of your seat. I'd say he was probably my favorite writer until his last one, Origin. I thought sucked.
I didn't read that one. Is that?
I mean, it was fine. It just like, why do you have to do Robert Langdon again?
Yeah,
it's kind of like Clive Cussler. It's like Dirk Pitt can only be, the heartthrob with a new woman in the same story so many times before you're like, next. Thank you. Next.
Huh.
Anyway, that guy was flagellating himself, which sounds kind of sexual.
Yeah, that guy's got a cat of 9 tails.
Yeah. Cat of 9 tails. They would a lot of times. So they whipped himself on the back,
which I could pull mine out if you haven't seen one.
Nice. You use it for something else in the bedroom. Good thing Nicole is not here this week for this episode. Another thing, so they would do that in public though, to like be like, God, God forgive us, for what we're doing. It's terrible, but that didn't work, and then it would probably spread.
Oh, that didn't work, really?
Oh no. I mean, maybe it worked for them. I don't know. I can't ask them, but it probably only made it worse because then they'd have open wounds that could get infected and they get septicemic plague faster. But then the other problems they had were that, okay, there's always going to be like religious persecution. There's always going to be hate between religions because that's just how people are. So that made it worse, especially as always against Jews. They would say the Jews were the reason for this plague, just like they blame someone for everything. Yeah. And so they would be prosecuted and there'd be violence against them.
They've had the worst history ever.
Pretty bad run. I mean,
holy Jesus.
Yeah.
I didn't even know they were being blamed for the plague.
Did you?
What the fuck?
I didn't either. This is crazy. Blame for the plague. Okay, then there's people who try to say the Holocaust was fake. I mean, like,
that's insane.
What is it going to take?
I mean, there's videos.
What is it? There's people who were alive who wrote.
We actually got that war on video. You can see that on Netflix of the concentration camps.
I mean, but I guess,
what the fuck?
Fake, I guess people call everything fake news these days, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I really hate, though, is people that think the Earth is round. I mean, that shit's completely flat.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Can you see a round? If it was round,
you'd be able to see.
I'm just kidding. We believe the Earth is flat here, ladies and gentlemen. No, we believe the Earth is round. It is round. Okay. If you find any proof that it's flat, send it to us here at quackerypodcast.com. or any of our social media. We'd love to see it. I'm interested, I love all the experiments and the theories on what it looks like. That stuff's fascinating to me, but it is round.
It is round. That's why your cell phone
Why
works.
is it round? Yes. For a lot of reasons.
If you think it's flat,
have you ever watched a ship coming into harbor
dude.
that's tall? You can watch it go up as it gets closer to you. That's all the information you need.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's a picture of some pigeons standing on top of each other. And they had so they did rubs. So a lot of it was like, it almost sounded like they were getting someone ready to bake them, for Christmas dinner. They'd rub them with onions, herbs, chopped up snakes. And then they would put them on the boils. That was a lot, the buboes. Yeah. Or sometimes they'd cut up a chicken or a pigeon and rub it over infected body parts. I don't know why. I guess maybe it was just there. And they were like, well, shit, we try something.
Yeah, fuck it. It's pigeon.
Shit, maybe I don't see the pigeons getting the plague. So maybe we just rub them on us. Maybe they're the cure.
Yeah.
So then there's pomanders, which were just basically really strong smell. It was like incense or almost like essential oils almost. So they'd have them in a special container. And then they'd so that was the name of the container, was the pomander.
Oh, yeah, it does look like an incense burner,
And they would put all different sorts of, strong smelling things in there, fragrances.
The miasma theory, that's what you said earlier. Who came up with that? Was that?
No, it was just kind of a generally believed thing. They just all, and they didn't call it the miasma theory at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah, we call it that now.
That was just the thing where, like, it was just a generally believed thing that, like, bad air or bad smells were making you sick, so they thought good smells would cure you or ward it off. So they were like kind of like talismans.
I can see that.
They would have like religious carvings on them or like different things.
Because these rotting bodies probably smelled
for sure.
awful.
I mean, in it worst case scenario, which we'll talk about with essential oils, at least it smells good.
Yeah.
It may not be doing anything, but at least it smells nice. Yeah, so the miasma theory, for centuries they thought that was the cause there. So then there was also talismans they would use, like religious talismans, of course, like little amulets and whatever like that. But they would also put live chickens on their body near the buboes.
Jesus.
Like a lot. Can you imagine having?
Yeah.
So they're like right by your balls.
Jesus.
You strap a chicken on. You got them just going crazy. That thing had to be pecking your pecker.
Pecking the pecker.
Wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
It's alive.
Yeah. They feel kind of good, actually. Got this like.
I mean, yours is probably so calloused after all the machinery you've used on it.
Yeah.
It can't be harmed.
Well, thanks a lot. No,
that's good. That's a compliment.
But I grew up on a farm, so
like
I know
an old shoe down there.
The feathers, I mean, they're soft, but they have those edges on the feathers, so it would definitely scrape.
Yeah, that's true. Plus,
scrape you up.
Plus they also have claws and.
I wonder if that's where they came up with the word cock.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just figured it out. cock came from putting a talisman live chicken right by your balls to cure your boobos. Do you think that's where boobs came from? Boobos?
We're learning today.
Oh, God. And ladies and gentlemen, we are taking you backwards in your education to kindergarten. So they would also tie like bundles of lavender around their wrists as like talismans. And also that would be the miasma theory because they also smelled good. Like grave robbers would do that a lot of times. Yeah. They didn't want to get sick, but then they had to like make a living.
Yeah. You know, we kind of do that today. I mean, because Nicole bought me this bracelet that you put essential oils on, you know, and it's the same thing. It's like...
Good, you can be our spokesman for the
It's ridiculous.
Episode.
Like, what is this going to do? Like, for real.
Yeah.
But it's like we haven't progressed anywhere.
No. Well, and we'll get into this. I want to talk about the some different logical fallacies with medicine.
Yeah.
I wanted to discuss that next week's episode. But yeah, there are fallacies like the appeal to ancient wisdom. Like, just because we've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean that it's good. But, you know, people have been strapping chickens around, you know, near the balls for a long time. Doesn't mean...
Can you imagine me walking downtown Charleston with a chicken?
Like... You just wear really baggy pants and it's just jumping around in there. You're like, don't worry about it. It's just working on my boobos.
Yeah.
Like, John, I think that's called a fupa. Got a live fupa down there.
Holy shit. I'm going to do it.
God, I hope so. Please take a video. Can we put it up on Quackery Podcast? Our YouTube channel is gonna blow up if you put a live chicken on your pants and walk down King Street.
Yeah,
that's how we get famous. Screw the podcast. We're just gonna take videos of you putting chickens down your pants or different kind of birds.
Yeah,
all different birds.
I'll do it. I'll do anything for money.
God. Do you like Harry Potter?
I read 2 of the books.
Okay, you didn't see the movies?
No.
I know a lot of our listeners out there because pretty much everybody likes Harry Potter except for John.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you probably will remember.
She's a good writer, but dude, I mean, 2 books is enough. I mean,
please, she could have kept writing those things. People would read
come on, man! Like every book,
I don't like how they
fight with Voldemort. It's the same. It's the same premise on every book. He gets a little older. You know, he's falling in love with Hermione. Or whatever the fuck.
I thought her name was Hermione, too. Hermione. That's what I thought it was. Hermione. No, it's Hermione.
I mean, she's a great writer, though. Yeah. I mean, I can't talk bad about her. She's a great writer. I mean, those books were excellent.
On the movie of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, so there is a poisoned... I think it's a poison... Something's poisoned Ron takes, and they're in the little... potions lab, and he runs and grabs a Bezoar. And so I wish you would watch this because you would know what those are right away. And so he put it in his mouth, and it basically sucked the poison out, and it kept him from dying because he got poisoned. And anyway, so these are real. She didn't just make these up for this. So what they are is almost like, you know how an oyster, once it gets that grit in there, like it kind of like tries to spit it out for like many years, and it makes a pearl. It's like it's, you know, rubber. Yeah. Like indigestible matter informs in the lining of stomach of animals like goats, llamas, deer, and sheep. That's what Bezoars are. And so they end up looking kind of like big, darker pearls. But anyway, people thought, you know, these things must be like, you know, magical, almost like, you know, they're going to suck out poisons. And really the thought from that was sometimes some of these animals would eat poisonous snakes. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know a goat will eat anything, but I don't know what else would eat a snake other than that. You know, then they would eat the snake and it'd be in their stomach. So these Bezoars would have like the ability to resist snake bites and stuff like that. But they thought like that was a good talisman to keep away. And then potions, of course. They would use mercury, arsenic, ground up unicorn horn. Yeah,
what?
They're real, man.
No way.
No, it was like fake. I'm sure it was just like, you know, probably was ground up, you know, Bezoars or, you know, goat horn or something. No, but they said that was unicorn horn. The vinegar, crushed up different minerals, and then 10-year-old treacle. Do you know what treacle is?
No.
Yeah, so apparently it's big in England. I don't know, they apparently use it to cook stuff, but it's uncrystallized sugar, basically. They refine sugar, and it makes like this uncrystallized syrup that, I don't know, it's weird. And they would let it sit for 10 years, and I don't know, sure, that had to be great for you. But one thing that's weird about like high sugar compounds, like honey, which honey's even better, like they don't go bad.
Oh, really?
It's such high, it's like the viscosity of it is so thick nothing that needs oxygen can live in there. So like
Ah.
inside, and then honey also has like there's different things from like the bee saliva. They found honey in like the pharaoh's tombs that would still be edible.
Oh God, I love honey. I got honey in there, and I like take a spoon and I dip it in there and just eat it all the time.
a sugar
Nicole's
rush.
like, "Why are you doing that?" I'm like,
That'd
"Because
be
it's
me with
fucking
peanut butter,
great.
but I do like honey.
It's amazing.
Honey
I
and peanut
love
butter.
honey. Oh my, like real honey.
Yeah.
Straight from the.
Not the kind from the bear.
Yeah, hey, I want. If I started my own honey company, it'd be called Bee Barf because that's what honey is. It's
that's
the
right.
Bee Barf.
That's and
And it's a
the
great
saliva,
name.
bee barf. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure you would sell a bunch. Probably not. Okay, remember I talked about urine?
Yeah.
You ever watch Dodgeball?
Yeah.
Necessary? Is it necessary for me to drink my own urine? No, but it's sterile and I like the taste. Patches O'Houlihan.
If you can
So
dodge
the
a wrench, you
doctors
can
would
dodge
test.
a ball.
That's right. Dodged up, dip, dive, and dodge. The 5 Ds.
Dip, dive.
That's only 4. Dodge. So they would test the urine if the worse the urine would look, the color of it. So they would start tasting it. They'd be like, oh, some doctors would be like, oh, if I taste the urine, I know if they got the plague or not. Pretty gross. But it's probably not the most ridiculous thing we've heard so far today.
Yeah.
So I love this one.
Yeah.
There's somebody made a meme of a plague doctor and it says, I'm here to chew herbs and to lance buboes, and I'm all out of oregano, bitches. So they would cut the buboes, which are the big swellings on the
swelling
lymph
things,
nodes, right? And they weren't just in your crotch. They could be under your armpit or neck a lot of times to anywhere there's lymph nodes. So the reason they thought that cutting these would work is because like bubonic plague was 50% survive or fatal. So once they burst on their own, it was usually a good sign that person was going to live.
Oh,
so
really?
they were like, okay, well if we cut them open, then won't it do the same thing? Well, it does release the pain.
Yeah, the pressure.
But it would also increase your risk to get septicemic plague and to spread the bacteria everywhere, because you cut that thing open and it goes, sprays everywhere like Dr. Pimple Popper.
Oh God, I love that channel.
Me too. I don't know why, but anyway,
Dude,
if they survived that, then it would make them more likely to catch other infections too, because they got this big open sore. It would make it feel better, but it would make it worse for everybody: the doctor, probably the patient, and everyone around. So
why is it that when they burst on their own, you're more likely to live?
I think it's kind of like
breaking a cold or something. Like
it's like once it breaks and like once it comes to a head, because probably behind it, like your body is recovered, so it's just spitting it out, pushing it out. Yeah, that's not a very medical explanation for it.
It makes
I think it's
sense
just something
to
they
me,
saw, right? But kind of like when a pimple pops on its own, it's it'll be gone. But if you pop it, it's probably going to fill back up and be there the next day looking at you. I don't know, but anyway, so then they also thought you could sweat it out. So if they would try to sit near a fire and get really, really hot and sweat it out, didn't really help. Yeah, I think, it couldn't be, it's not the worst idea. But then they also thought that, hey, the miasma theory, why don't we flip it and reverse it? If bad smells make you sick, and good smells make you better, what if I go sit in the sewer where the smell is really, really bad, and then it'll be stronger than the smell of the plague, and I can't get sick? But that didn't go so well.
What is that picture from?
Oh, that's from Airplane.
Oh, okay.
When they make him fly and he's just sweating buckets. So is it treatable today? And the answer is yes. With antibiotics, because it is a bacteria. So different aminoglycosides like streptomycin, gentamicin, and different tetracyclines like doxycycline, fluoroquinolones like Cipro, Levaquin, things like that have activity against it. So mortality goes from around 50%, like we said, in untreated cases to between 15% or less, 1 to 15% mortality. So it's still scary. Yeah. And that all has to do with speed of how fast you get them antibiotics, because it works fast. If they're given antibiotics within 24 hours, then they'll have a really good chance of surviving. And then you got to give them oxygen, IV fluids, make sure and do all the palliative care stuff. That's like just treating all the symptoms.
What is Canada doing right? Because they don't have any.
I think it has to do with it's colder.
It's colder.
But no, this is actually countries where they have plague and where the animals have plague. And that was
Yeah.
1970 to 1998. Yeah, and South Carolina, South Carolina would be in the plague area, which is crazy. But then, the western half of the United States is in the red, which is where it's in animals. So, pick your poison there. No, but I think it's pretty rare. And as long as you get to the doctor, I think you'll be really sick really fast. So you want to get in if you have those symptoms like we talked about. So, Black Plague as a weapon in the past.
Biological warfare, right?
The invention of biological warfare. So, Genghis Khan was famous for this. In 1346, it was the Siege of Kaffa, which is now called Feodasia, Crimea. And that was the attacking Tartar forces were subjugated by the Mongol Empire under Genghis Khan. They used the bodies of Mongol warriors of the Golden Horde who had died of plague as weapons.
That's awesome.
They would fire them over the wall. So they thought they thought the miasma theory was correct too. They were like, they smell so bad that'll kill them. Well, when they got over, they would go splat and spread the plague and... And they said it helped to spread the plague even faster across Europe. Yeah,
he was a genius, man.
That's crazy. Yeah,
he just catapulted them over the walls.
We talk about we're like you celebrate some people as geniuses and some people as crazy. Some people were both, and just because history's gone by faster, they get remembered a certain way. I mean, that's some wild shit there.
Yeah,
that's effective.
Very effective.
Probably wouldn't fly with the Geneva Convention.
Yeah. So I'm taking this as the first biological warfare.
Maybe not the first, but as far as the plague goes, I would think that was the first that we have record of. There probably were other things that they did, maybe not as far as like that they knew that they did,
Yeah.
As far as biological warfare, but pretty cool. So the potential for Black Plague to be used as a weapon even today. So it's considered one of the most serious bioterrorism threats. Yersinia Pestis as an aerosol weapon had been developed by several countries. So it would cause a pneumonic plague, in your lungs, which is very lethal. Then they go on, the World Health Organization goes on to say that a worst case scenario is a dissemination of 50 kilograms of Yersinia Pestis in aerosol over a city of 5 million people might result in 150,000 cases of pneumonic plague, and of those, 80,000 to 100,000 would require hospitalization, and 36,000 would die. So the reason why it's scary is like everyone kind of has like this in their banks, like the CDC has like all the different pathogens, like every country has this. So like it wouldn't be hard for someone to get their hands on. There is the technology to make it into an aerosol, and the fatality rate is so high there wouldn't be enough. The secondary spread of person to person with it being pneumonic. I mean, it's kind of. And there's also antibiotic resistant strains of this.
You see some cases where people go and spray things, like they'll go into Whole Foods or wherever and take some bacteria and spray all the food. You never seen people do that? Like, I mean, they'll get arrested for, obviously when they get caught on camera. Yeah, I don't know if it's the plague.
You mean like
whatever.
Probiotics?
No, I haven't. Okay, I haven't done much research on it, but I've seen it. Yeah.
No. That's interesting.
Yeah. I know people get caught from doing that.
I guess it's like the people, used to say like, oh, don't take an apple from someone on Halloween. They might have put razor blades in it. But like, what kind of asshole is giving out apples at Halloween anyway?
Know.
A bunch of assholes. No one's going to eat
I know. That. And dude, I want to say, I was the rock star of this neighborhood because we gave full fucking candy bars. Full candy bars. Oh. Okay, so if you're giving these little minis, then screw you. Come to my house, you get a full Snickers bar.
Oh yeah. You know what? I just had a realization.
Next year, king size.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Damn, boy.
2020, king size Snickers. Eat dick.
I just had a realization. Okay, think about this. There was a rumor that there were razor blades in homemade candies, right?
Mm-hmm.
But no one really had a source for that. It was just said. Everyone got on the news. Everyone said, don't take candy if it's not wrapped from Snickers or who do you think spread that?
Yeah.
Probably was Mars.
Yeah.
The company that makes Mars bars, Snickers, and all that shit. They probably engineered that so that people would buy more of their candy instead of making their own.
Probably, yeah. It's like that's psyops.
Genius.
Yeah.
Okay, so what were some of the consequences of the plague that actually spread for a long time? So, like we said, it estimated to have killed around almost 200 million people, which the entire world population at that time was less than 500 million people in the world.
Jesus, yeah.
It killed almost half the people in the world.
It's It's crazy.
So an interesting part about this, though, so you remember back, and there was like a lord, and then he would kind of rule
the feudal system
and the feudal system, right? So the plague brought the feudal system down.
Yeah, because all your
half of the people probably ruling you
servants,
died. Everyone died.
Yeah, and all those people were paying taxes to the king, and now everyone's dead.
Plus, it opened up a lot of free land.
Yeah.
So there's these weird.
I wonder if any kings got.
I'm sure. I'm sure it didn't spare people who were rich, because they were trying to bloodlet and all the same shit, and put on talismans and bazaars and all that. Nothing that really worked. They didn't know any better either. It's not like they had prescription in the back. They were like, shit, don't tell them.
Yeah.
But
they didn't Magic Johnson it, is what you're trying to say.
That's right. That's right. They didn't have, even though they had cash, they couldn't Magic Johnson that shit. But anyway, with the feudal system, sorry. So there was land. So they could just, they're like, why would I stay here under your rule? I can go over there and have my own land. No one's claiming it. All the people died there. So it's mine.
Yeah.
They just take it. And so it kind of broke it down. But then one weird thing that I saw was that, okay, they thought that it changed the course of genetics for Europe forever, because maybe there were people who had genetics to be more resistant to these kind of things, including there's a very small Caucasian population who has a genetic mutation that makes them immune to HIV. And they thought that it came from this.
It was like natural selection right there.
They thought that it came from this, but it can't be substantiated because we couldn't genetic test before the plague.
Yeah, but I can definitely see it. That's a great point.
Interesting, but I don't know if it has anything to do with it. But then there was even more religious prosecutions for people beyond that, because of course they're still going to blame people for the plague even after it's done. They kept the flagellation. They thought, hey, we like this, whipping ourselves seems pretty fun.
I mean, I'm going to try it tonight.
Hey,
sticks and stones
all over this may place. Break my bones, but chains and whips excite me. Nah, come on. And then the macabre art, with the dead people and the skeletons and all that shit that stuck around. And we saw it a lot in influencing the art. So that, I think, we'll do it. Did you have any other questions about plague medicine, how they treated it? Or
yeah, one question. So what is the cure now if you were to get the bubonic plague?
Yeah. So antibiotics. Yeah. So I went through the list of the ones.
Okay, gotcha.
But you got to get it fast. I mean, if you treat them within 24 hours, you'll probably be fine.
So like a Z-Pack.
No. So I don't think azithromycin covered it. If we go back here, I can look.
So one question. So this is a bacteria, as in. The coronavirus is obviously a virus.
Right.
Is one more stronger than the other?
They're just different.
Okay.
They just behave differently. Okay, bacteria are a lot bigger. Viruses are a lot smaller. Okay. Viruses infect a host by kind of getting into the cells and using them to basically hijack a cell, replicate in the cell, and then it bursts the cell, and then all these little viruses now go and do it for more and more cells. Yeah, and bacteria work differently. I mean, we have bacteria living in us all the time, but just bacteria that can be problematic in different ways that we're not used to having. I mean, like probiotics, we take those, that's good bacteria that's in our gut. Bacteria is always living on our skin, in our noses, in our mouths, in our gut, in our butt. Like, we have bacteria everywhere. It's the reason why, you wouldn't want to not wash your hands after you poop. You got bacteria on them, and probably viruses.
Well, I don't wash my hands.
You don't poop either.
I don't use toilet paper either. Wait, what?
Yeah, he's like a chicken. He's got the one hole, the kaluka.
I stomp it down the shower drain.
Oh my god! I mean, it works. As long as it's as long as there's not too much corn.
Yeah. Ew.
Oh boy. Well, if you guys aren't sufficiently grossed out, and you like this episode, and it really quacked you up, and you want to support our crew, head on over to quackerypodcast.com/join and become an official Quackhead. Make sure and hit that subscribe button. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Tell your friends, and as always, keep calm and quack on.